So next in line, you've got to exercise.
Yeah.
You don't exercise, you cannot be healthy. And I did a little study, a pop study, as I call it here, 18 years ago, because when people are sick, they insist they don't have the energy to exercise. So I got the group that did, and I looked at them for 2 years and 1 month. And I found out that you can actually rapidate or speed up healing of every single disease on an average of 3 times if you just do aerobic exercise. Now, you know why, but for the non-doctors, I'll explain it to you. When your circulation is moving, because you're moving aerobically and heating the body up, stem cells are coming out to repair, to come and replace the dying cells, which are inevitable. I mean, they're not dying because you're sick. That's natural. Cells die, apoptosis, and then you come in and then you have the stem cell. That's first. Number 2, you're flushing and bringing more oxygen into the bloodstream. All disorders, viruses, bacteria, mold, fungus, yeast, and cancer are anaerobic. When you put oxygen into the body, it kills things. Not maybe it kills things, it kills things. And the more you have, the better it is. Next is your psyche. It's clear to me, moderate to light depression, 50% of the people, if they just got off their butt and did aerobic exercise, they'd correct it because the endorphins go. And now we understand serotonin activity and the uptake from the intestinal tract. All of that is greatly enhanced by movement and exercise. And here are the 3 you have to do. Stretching, and the older you are, the more that is important. Number 2, aerobic, minimum. I want you to do more, 35 minutes, 5 days a week, minimum. And I mean, heart pounding, I don't want to do this type of stuff. And weightlifting. If you don't do resistant exercise, you're going to be in trouble. Little skinny women who eat vegan diets or any diet are going to get osteoporosis. It's not a dietary thing, not a calcium thing. That's baloney. Matter of fact, it's a weightlifting deficiency. And how I can say this with utter authority, I've worked with 22,000 women mostly, but some men with osteoporosis. Nobody gets well doing everything else I tell them unless they lift weight. So these are the things we need to do. I think you have to have a spiritual, doesn't have to be religious, it can be, a spiritual connectivity to the universe. If you think you're here alone and the burden's on your back, you're going to collapse. So you've got to find some way to commune with nature, commune with God. And why I'm a fan of religion, if any reason, it's community. You need a community support. And I'm not saying you have to be religious. I know highly connected people that have no religion, but they're spiritually awake people. And spiritually awake doesn't mean some corny thing that you know how to say prayers in your sleep. It means that you have respect for everything that you have gratitude, that you have respect for nature. And if you just have that type of thing and humble yourself, it does so much for your well-being and others' well-being. That joy factor, what you introduced today, you're here to make people happy. If you're happy, you're going to make other people. It's contagious. You ever notice you walk into a room, people are laughing, you don't know why, but you laugh? It's contagious. And so the last thing I will say to you is you have to have close relationships. The most impressive study done on centenarians and super centenarians, 110-year-old people, and I mentioned this when I was at your clinic there in Los Angeles. The study that was done up in New England, the hands down, the most comprehensive study on how do we make it to 100 and older, said, yes, eating plant-based diets, yes, exercise, but equally important, not less important, is you having good friends and you having relationships, by the way, that fulfill you and enrich you and passion you. It's so sad. I was mentioning this in class here on campus today, that 90% of marriages are not truly happy marriages. Now think of that. They're not your friend. You don't want to hang out with them. What happened to people? Well, people are confused. They're lost. And so one lost person doesn't attract one together person. You attract another lost person. And then you make babies that are lost. And before you know it, everything gets lost at that point. Only 10% of people, and when they evaluate, the psychologists and psychiatrists evaluated this, they said there were 2 people that were confident in who they were, happy with their life, and content with everything that they had. And when you get 2 people that have that, they support one another. Otherwise, if you have one weak person, one strong person, they're like vampires draining energy out of the strong person. And even if the strong person has empathy and compassion and love, eventually they just can't stay in that relationship anymore. And obviously, two weak people have nothing to give one another. And, you know, to me, this is as important, this relationship thing, as everything else I've mentioned to you. So let's review it again. So the top is affirmative thought. The second is really clean, plant-based, organic food, and as much raw, uncooked, unprocessed food as you can have. Number three is exercise. I mean, I'm talking about real exercise where you're doing stretching, at least an hour and a half, 3 days a week, resistant exercise, aerobic every single day if possible, but at least 5 days a week. The third thing I'm talking about is that community, be it if you get it in religion or your club. And if you don't have that where you live, create one. You know, create a club where you come together and have that social interaction. We need support. And the last one is your close interrelationships with people. That is powerfully important. I wouldn't be the man I am today without my wife. She is half of my life. What I don't know, she's strong in, and vice versa. And she's my coworker, my lover, my partner, the mother of my children, the grandmother of my grandchildren. And the reality is, I feel if everyone in the world had that and friendship and fed their body well and did this, we'd have peace. People wouldn't be at war. People wouldn't hate. There wouldn't be sexism, racism, and all of this craziness. People hate themselves, so they strike out and hate other people.
Yeah, well, you're a very fortunate man.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people have trouble finding, you know, a partner of that kind of caliber.
I'm going to be very personal, even though this is your podcast. A woman like you who's highly intelligent and attractive is intimidating for weaker men. You just haven't found a real man that appreciates who you are. That's it. And most men, and let me be honest with you, I'm a male. Men, if they're lucky, start to grow up. I didn't start to really grow up until I was in my 50s. And most men never grow up. You know, we're like boys through our life. Why? Because our mothers let us be that, our wives let us be it, the girlfriends let us be. We're allowed to be boys. Women have to take all of the work and get none of the credit. And so I've always surrounded myself with powerful women, smart women, because I realized the female intuition and the female insight is wider than a male's. We're great tractors. You give me a job, I'll plow the damn thing down with the tractor. You look at the trees, you look at what kind of tractor is it? Is it right? No, the women have this whole thing going on. We just don't have.
Yeah, definitely. You know, the male and female, they complement each other and can make life a lot more fun and a lot more inspiring.
You're a fun person. And all I can say to you is, I don't know who you're socializing with, but I better start to introduce you to some real people.
I had no idea this is where this podcast is going.
This has become the love connection here.
I know I cover many aspects, so hey,
yeah,
you know, I'm an open book. I wrote a whole book about my life, you know, the Tiger of Beijing. So I you know, that's fine.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
It's a very candid memoir, so let it all hang out then.
Yeah, well, look, if you're having a problem, I feel bad for the other women.
That's a whole other conversation.